Howdy, everybody. This is Leo Cloutier with Malice to It None. We're here at Winter Haven, Florida today, the home base of the Boston Red Sox for spring training. It's indeed a pleasure to have as our guest a friend of long standing.
Batting instructor, Ted Williams. Welcome, Ted.
How are you, Leo? It's last time I saw you was at your wonderful banquet, and now here we are in spring training with the Red Sox.
So nice to be here with you. It was so nice to have you at our banquet. That banquet was the start of a little baseball for you this spring.
Well, it really was, Leo. When I was up there, they were them television people and radio guys and newspapermen from Boston start questioning me about what I wanted to do, and I didn't have anything in mind at all. But as the conversation developed, why, I said, well, I wouldn't mind being with a big league club in the spring and working with their young hitters and the major league club, and I would kind of enjoy that. And all of a sudden it developed where I finally got together with the Red Sox, and here I am. And I'm very delighted about it because I get a chance to be right close where I can see it all. To me, this is much more interesting than if I'm hearing about it on the radio or reading about it in the newspaper. I've thoroughly enjoyed the month that I've been here, and hopefully I've been able to get maybe some things across to some of our younger hitters.
What do you do when you see a youngster and you think he needs help? How do you actually go about it?
Well, don't forget, I break it down 50% mental and 50% physical. To me, and maybe I'm too optimistic when I see a young kid, but when I see that a kid can swing a bat and have good style doing it, I never fool with him. I think that if he's got the rudiments of a good swing, why try to be a Houdini and do something that you don't think is right just to be doing something? I think that more times than not, a kid has a pretty good swing. Now, somewhere along the line, some kids do get bad information, and they will be told something, and they've gone along with it, and they have developed something that isn't quite right. But that's certainly in the minority of cases. I think that more times than not, you can talk to a kid and emphasize to him that there's a little game going on forever between the pitcher and the hitter. The pitcher's thinking about the hitter ought to be thinking about the pitcher. What has he done the last time? What kind of pitcher is he? You ask a teammate, you see what he does to the previous hitters. And that does so much for you. It gives you so much to think about, so much to know about him before he even sees you. He don't know whether you're high, low, inside, or out. They're willing to admit that a guy can't become a hitter. I say a lot of guys can't become great hitters, and a guy can't even become good hitters. But I say this, that there isn't a hitter that can't be made better. And that's what we're striving to do, is get a fair hitter to a fairly good hitter, and a good hitter to maybe an outstanding hitter. And I think improvement can be made, and I substantiate that fact by saying that every player I ever saw, and if you were to ask those very same players, they said, yeah, I should have been a better hitter. And if somewhere down the line they'd say, well, I did this too long, and I didn't realize this, and I wasn't very smart, there'd be things like that they'd talk about.
I thought it was quite amusing and interesting the other day in the clubhouse when you were talking with George Scott and explaining to him the batting and the techniques and everything else. And, of course, jokingly, you mentioned that from the neck up he was suspect. He thought it was a hell of a compliment.
Well, as a matter of fact, he brought up that very statement himself because we would kid other players as they came by. I was talking to George so much, and I have talked to George a lot, and he's the one that said, he's another guy suspect from the neck up, which means proper thinking and knowing what's going on and knowing what he has to do. You got to know yourself, that's part of the act. And if you don't know what you got to do against certain pitchers with 2 strikes, or what you got to do to cut your strikeouts down from, say, 120 to 85, why, then somebody has to come along, maybe put a little idea in your mind, maybe get a little different equipment, with the same eyes, the same wrist, the same coordination, the same everything, except a little better thinking, a little lighter bat, maybe an inch on the bat being the difference, then maybe conversation will help that very thing along.
Ted, did you work with many of the regulars?
I didn't. Actually, I talked to all the regulars. I would have to say that I probably talked a little bit more, certainly to Scott, a little bit more, certainly to Hobson, a little bit more, and the only guy that I ever talked a little bit about his swing was Evans. And those are the 3 guys I have to say at this point that I have talked to and have thought about the most. Carlton Fisk, you can't, he's got a real good swing. He gets himself in problems by trying to think out a better way to do it all, and sometimes he gets thinking the wrong way rather than the right way. I mean, there's not a player in that club that hasn't got a good swing. The only guy in the whole club that we even talked to about a swing was Dwight Evans in right, and He really looks good now. I just hope he can keep carrying through now with what he's doing, because right now he's hitting real good.
The other day he got 3 hits in St. Pete.
The next day he got 3 hits too.
So that's good progress.
Well, hopefully it'll carry on. And I really think we've got some little, Dwight Evans is a very smart guy, and he knows what to do, but a lot of times he thinks he's doing something and he really isn't. And then when you start to talk about it, well, then he realizes that maybe he isn't doing that very thing.
Did you work much with Rice?
I haven't talked much to Rice. As a matter of fact, Rice, you look at his record, you say right away, he's coming off a great year, and you say, well, we're not going to, it'd be silly for me to try to talk too much about Rice and his swing.
Until tomorrow at the same time, Leo Cloutier, good day.